What if I told you that you are one property purchase away from making the worst money-making mistake in 2026? You see, most people get too excited when they finally buy their first property. And on paper, it looks like a great investment. But when the dust settles and they start losing money on the back end, their heart skips a beat and they wish they could take it all back. Whereas I'm 23 years old, I manage 45 Airbnb properties across Melbourne that generate me over $300,000 a month. Yet I don't own a single one of them. So in this video, I'm gonna show you why traditional real estate investing in Australia is not worth it in 2026 and why the model I use has the potential to outperform it and change your life. And by the end of this, you'll have to decide which one is best for you. To make that decision, you first need all the information. So let's talk about what buying a property in 2026 actually gets you. I want you to imagine you're in your early 20s. You've just landed a stable job and you've made the decision that could change your life. You are going to do what everyone told you to do and save for a property. So you start putting money away every single month. You sacrifice your holidays, you skip dinners out, and you tell yourself that it'll all be worth it in the end. The property you're targeting is a $800,000 home. Now here in Australia, it takes on average about 12 years to save for a 20% deposit. But eventually you get to that point. You sign the papers, you get the keys, and for a split moment, it feels like you have finally made it. But soon after, reality starts to set in. Your $800,000 property is generating a gross rental yield of 3 to 4%. And then it only gets worse because you have to deal with council rates, property management fees, maintenance, insurance, and mortgage repayment. So by the time every cost has had its turn, your $24,000 in gross rent hasn't just shrunk. In many cases, it's gone completely negative, meaning you are literally losing money every single month on an asset that you spent 12 years saving for. And the defense that most people reach for at this point is capital growth. The property is going to go up in value, so I'm good, right? Sure, on paper. But here's what nobody tells you about capital growth. It's a number that you can't touch, you can't spend, and you can't access without either selling the entire asset or going deeper into debt to unlock it. And if that wasn't bad enough, the Australian government just made it significantly worse. Because on May 12th this year, they handed down a federal budget that fundamentally changed the game for property investors in two ways. And if you're still someone who is on the fence about buying, then you need to hear this. First of all, negative gearing has been removed for any existing residential property purchased after the budget night. And for years, negative gearing has allowed investors to offset their property losses against other income to reduce their tax bill, such as their salary. That is completely gone now. So if you're buying today and your property is losing you money every month, which I just showed you that it likely will, you can no longer use those losses to reduce what you owe to the government. So you are just losing money with no tax relief whatsoever. And the second is that the 50% capital gains discount is being replaced as of July 2027. That discount was the one thing that made the wait for capital growth strategy somewhat worth it. It meant that when you eventually sold your asset, you only pay tax on half of your gain. But in 2027, that will be completely gone and replaced by a system where a minimum 30% tax applies to your real capital gain. So not only is your cash flow getting worse every month, the exit also just got significantly more expensive too. So after 12 years of saving and holding, what have you actually built? An asset that in many cases is losing you money every single month, capital locked away completely, and a tax system that just got a whole lot less forgiving. And a lifestyle that looks worse to the one that you had before you bought it. That is the dream that Australia sold you. And in 2026, that dream is more expensive than most people ever stop to calculate. Okay, so now you're probably thinking, I can't do traditional real estate investing. What should I actually do with $100,000 of my savings instead? And the answer to that question is actually much simpler than most people believe, because there is a model that's sitting inside the real estate market that most Australians have never seriously considered. It's called Airbnb arbitrage. And the first time that you hear about it, your instinct is going to be the same one that I had. That something this straightforward couldn't work, but I was wrong. You see, 3 years ago, I was working a bunch of dead-end jobs, including being a laborer for a cold storage chicken warehouse, a call center agent, and also a sales consultant for an energy solutions company where I was selling light bulbs to people who didn't want them. And on the side of all of these jobs, I was searching for a business model that could quote unquote free me from my 9 to 5. I tried drop shipping, I tried SMMA, I even tried crypto and NFTs, which was a horrible idea, by the way. I lost like $20,000 overnight, and I remember crying myself to sleep that night. It wasn't until I stumbled across a video about a business model called Airbnb arbitrage in America that really took my attention. And that's when I called my now business partner Terrence, and within the first 3 weeks of starting, we got our first property. Now admittedly, I wasn't the only one that saw this video or this concept in Australia, but we were one of the first ones that took action. And it allowed us to reach the top very, very quickly. So what actually is Airbnb arbitrage? Basically, you lease a property from a landlord, you furnish it and you list it on Airbnb, and you keep the difference between what guests pay you nightly and what what you pay the landlord monthly. The model is simple, but I've never really agreed with a name. Technically, it isn't an arbitrage because you still have to bridge the gap between what a short-term rental is and what a long-term rental is. And you do that by providing a guest experience, customer service, cleaning operations, pricing, listing optimizations, and so on. Anyways, the best part about all of this is that you don't have any of the negatives that's involved with traditional real estate investing. So that means there's no mortgage, there's no ownership, and there's no decades of debt sitting over your head just to simply put your foot in the door. You're simply just running a short-term rental business inside someone else's asset. And before you start wondering whether this is even legal in Australia, let me tell you once and for all, is. As long as you have written permission from your landlord and you are compliant under your state's short-term rental requirements, you are operating completely legitimately. Those are the boxes that you need to tick. So now that you understand what this business model is, let's talk about that same $100,000 that you would have put into traditional property investing and what that can do inside of Airbnb arbitrage instead. A single standard arbitrage unit costs anywhere between $10,000 to $12,000 to set up. That covers your bond, your first month's rent, and furnishing the property to a standard that commands premium nightly rates on Airbnb. So if we take the same $100,000 that would have bought you a barely breathing investment property and then funneled that into Airbnb arbitrage, suddenly you're looking at 8 to 10 fully operational income producing units from the exact same starting capital. Now let's look at what this model can actually produce. One of our students inside BNB Success, Nabil, was a full-time doctor. On paper, that's the dream, right? The career that probably everyone's parents pray for. The stable income, the respect. From the outside, Nabil was doing well. But here's the part that nobody saw. He was tired of his income being chained to his hours, tired of trading one more shift for one more paycheck, knowing that the second that he stopped working, the money stopped too. He wanted to build something that was actually his, something that he could actually be proud of. And honestly, he's one of the most driven people that I've ever met. But he'll be the first one to tell you that he started from a place of real pain. So he made the decision to stop waiting for the right time, and he actually took action. And within his first month, Nabil landed 3 Airbnb properties. It didn't take him 3 years, 3 properties in his first 30 days. And over the next 6 months, he scaled to 11 properties total. And from November through to February, his payouts hit consistent $40,000 a month. Let that sink in for a second. A few months in, and his short-term rental business was paying out more in a single month than some people's annual salary. One of his properties alone did over $10,000 profit in a single month. Rent paid, cleaning covered, utilities covered, and here are a few of his other bookings rolling in on top of that. At that point, the math made the decision for him. Nabil left his job as a full-time doctor and went all in. And only recently, Nabil actually secured the lease to an entire residential building in Sydney. 30 entire units, a whole building in one single signature. And if you want to learn more about Nabil's story, I actually sat down with him and talked to him in a video. Now, even if you want to be more conservative about it, a single well-run unit generating around $55,000 to $70,000 in annual revenue at a 20% profit margin nets you roughly $11,000 to $14,000. So across 8 units, that's anywhere between $88,000 and $112,000 a year. From that same $100,000, traditional real estate was going to hand you back almost nothing. And in many cases was actually going to cost you money. So now you understand what Airbnb arbitrage is and the kind of results that it can produce. But what does this actually mean for your life? Because the fact is, ultimately, you're investing in real estate or considering to invest in real estate for one reason alone, and that's freedom. Specifically, you're looking for financial freedom, time freedom, and location freedom. The ability to live life on your own terms. But here's the question that I get every single time someone starts to understand the model. Jordan, if I start with one property and eventually scale to 10, 15, 20 units, doesn't that become a whole new 20-hour per day job? And I get it. On the surface, managing multiple Airbnb properties sounds like a logistical nightmare. Guest messages coming in at all hours, cleaning schedules to coordinate every single day, prices to manage across every single listing. If you picture yourself doing all of that manually, yes, it sounds very, very exhausting. But here's what that picture is actually missing. This model is meant to be systemized. The guest communications, the cleaning schedules, the dynamic pricing, there are tools and systems that make this significantly more manageable than doing it all manually. Now, does that mean that you can set it, forget it, and never look at it again? No, of course not. You're running a business and businesses require attention. But the difference between the attention that this requires and what a traditional 9-to-5 demands from you every single day is not even a close comparison. For example, most of our students within our community are working part-time or they're working full-time. They don't have time to be sitting around replying to guests and handling all the cleaning by themselves. Kurta and Sanjana, who are a couple from Melbourne, are both working full-time jobs and acquired 2 properties in their first week and are now sitting at 5 properties total. And they're generating income on the side of the 9 to 5. And while they had this portfolio running in Melbourne, they went to travel overseas for 2 weeks while their properties were making money back at home. You see, this is the power of automating and systemizing processes within your business. If it's done right, it can give you back your time and location freedom. But at the end of the day, does that mean traditional real estate investing is just never worth it? No, the fact is that there can still be good money made in traditional real estate. The problem is in 2026, property prices are rising. The cost of living is rising. The government just made it harder to offset your losses and more expensive to exit. And when you combine all of these things together, it means that it's taking more people longer than ever to get into the market and harder than ever to make real money once they even do. Basically, it's a slow way to earn money at best, and any model that moves slowly in 2026 costs you more than most people ever realize. But hey, you might be thinking all of this sounds amazing, but do I have to have years of real estate experience to pull this off? Well, when I first got into this, I had zero experience in what short-term rentals or Airbnb was and no deep knowledge of what the real estate market was at all. In fact, my partner and I just went all in on researching, testing, and figuring this all out completely from scratch. But that process did take years. And that's exactly why we built B&B Success Mentorship, so that you don't have to spend years struggling to figure all of this out yourself. If you want someone to walk you through all of this step by step, hold your hand through the entire process, and help you get your first property up and running within your first 30 days, the link to book a call with our team is in the description below. There we'll map out exactly what the process looks like for your specific situation. However, if you are not quite there yet and you still want to understand the full process of starting an Airbnb business in 2026, click this link right here where I go over exactly how I'll do it if I had to start all over again.